Hello, hello.
Welcome
Hey guys.
to another Tactical Tuesday.
You ready for this one?
This is exciting, guys.
This is
a really good
one.
week. You're going to get info that is, quite frankly, new to us, super, super helpful. If you are a Canadian, if you have a mortgage, the information we're going to talk about tonight is extremely valuable.
I don't know how much you've been, following the feeds, but there's a lot of people that have already implemented it and, have been saying in Fearless, I've already implemented this thing and it's working for me and it's great. And, so lots of this stuff is proven. And interestingly, it's been around, like we heard about it years and years ago, never did look into it. But it's made a resurgence because who we're going to have on today, Robinson Smith, is the son of the guy that invented it. So, years ago, back in 2000, I think it was, he wrote a book his dad had introducing it. And, there was a lot of buzz around when we first started. But then that died down. And now Robinson has, released his other book a couple of years back now. And now it's making a resurgence. So guys, it's powerful. Whether you're a homeowner, it's powerful. But if you add on being an investor to that, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Super powerful.
Blowing.
So guys, thanks for saying hello as you come on, letting us know where you're from. We have people from all across the country that are interested in this topic. Really, this is something that can reduce the time we pay our mortgage in half if we do certain things, and even more depending on how many things we implement. So like Tiff said, we're going to be interviewing Robinson Smith, and he is going to fill us in with the details behind what this whole maneuver is and how does it work. And we're going to go through, he's going to show up at the calculator as well and kind of run through a scenario, and you're going to see the power that this can have and how you can implement it in your strategies. Like
easily. That's the thing that I like about it. I quite frankly, because there's so many facets to it, and we're going to talk about all that, but because there's so many facets to it, when I started looking into it, I thought, goodness me, I'm not a detail-oriented person. I'm really, for me to do a lot of finagling every month to pay bills or this or that, I was like, it's worth it. Trust me, it is. But it kind of just overwhelms me a little bit. But when I actually looked into the strategy, instead of assuming, it's actually not a lot of finagling. Once you're set up, it is kind of a, set it and forget it kind of thing. So that's especially makes me very excited, even though he does all of our stuff anyways. Yeah, it's awesome. So, hey guys, if you're seeing yourself when you make a comment there, then just, if it says Facebook user, we won't know who you are. They won't
see that. That's just what we see.
So yeah, okay. So we might just call you that. But if you want to have your name, just update StreamYard, and then I'll put in a link for you to
so you go StreamYard.com/Facebook, and then you give Facebook your permissions. So, okay, let's get right started. Let's bring Rob in, and we're going to add him to our discussion here. Welcome, Rob. Welcome to our Tactical Tuesday.
Hey.
Hello, Corey and Tiffany. Nice to meet you virtually.
Yes, and you're hailing all the way from Victoria, aren't you?
Correct, Victoria, BC.
Awesome. Yeah. It looks sunny outside.
It is. I've got the drapes pulled. It's coming in my eyes here. Well, listen, thanks for having me on, guys. Corey, I just want to say, fabulous shirt. Did you get it at the same place you got your wallpaper?
You know what? I think, as you can tell, Tiffany does our home decorating, and she does my shopping. So, yes, she likes flowers.
With your blazer, though, actually.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
We're excited for today, for sure.
Pardon me?
I said we're definitely excited for today. Lots of questions surrounding this. So, and I know you're well versed in doing these kinds of things. So you have some good plans. So we'll just let you take the show, maybe give us a little bit of an intro and introduction, tell us a little bit of the story behind it. We'll just follow your lead, and then we've got a few questions for you.
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, my dad developed the strategy back in the mid 80s, and really quickly here, he put his private clients into it for about 15 years. He retired from advising in 2000, and he came out with his book in 2002. So he only spent the next 2 or 3 years really promoting the strategy across Canada, because before then, as when he was an advisor, he kept it quiet. That was his business. And then back in 2005, he came back into advising. And at that point, there was no more, he wasn't doing any marketing and any push or anything like that. So there have for many years been advisors and professionals across the country implementing the strategy for Canadians. But the issue is I don't know if they're doing it correctly for their clients. We've heard many stories that the clients thought they were being put into the Smith Manoeuvre and it wasn't the Smith Manoeuvre. So I'll talk about what I'm doing about that a bit later. But essentially, I kept on going. After my dad passed away in 2011, I took on his clients as an advisor until the middle of 2018. I sold my practice at that point because as an advisor in the regulatory environment, it's really difficult to get a megaphone out there, because I wanted to tell Canadians coast to coast, all these homeowners need to be aware of the strategy at least, so they can make up their own mind if they want to implement or not. And I couldn't do that as an advisor. So I sold my business middle of 2018 to a colleague, wrote my book, Master Your Mortgage for Financial Freedom. There it is. And
great book, by the way.
Pardon me?
Great book, by the way.
Yeah, it's easy read.
Thank you.
For the book, I mean, come on.
Yeah, to be talking all these strategies and numbers and to be able to understand it clearly, the book super helped. Yeah, helped big time.
Yeah, well, we heard many times Dad's book, he was really a numbers guy and he kind of went straight into the numbers. So I wanted to redo it with current values, rates, make it a little more modern and a little more accessible to Canadians who weren't so numbers oriented. So I hope I've accomplished that. And yeah, so now I'm doing a lot of presentations, speaking engagements, all that sort of fun stuff, which I really love doing. That's what I enjoy most. And apart from getting word out to Canadians coast to coast about this strategy, what else I'm doing is building out the Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional Accreditation Program. And so I'm training up realtors, mortgage brokers, investment advisors, mortgage conveyancers, accountants, insurance agents, all the financial professionals you should surround yourself with in any event, whether you're doing the strategy or not. But I'm training them up in the strategy so that now Canadians have local professionals they can go to help them implement it and know that and trust that they've gone through the program.
For sure. Okay, so why does every Canadian, why are you creating all of this? What's the power of the Smith Manoeuvre that for every Canadian, not just us as investors, but every Canadian, what's the main power behind it that makes it something that every single one of us should know?
Yeah, I'll talk about a bit about that. I've got a presentation I'd like to get into, but basically the issue is that we Canadians are consistently within the top 5 highest paying tax citizenry on the planet. And it's making it really tough out there. And when you combine the expense of a mortgage on top of that, even at low rates, it still takes a big chunk of our paycheck. So there's so many Canadians making decent livings, 6-figure incomes. They're still unable to get ahead. And this is one of many different strategies out there available to Canadians, which helps them improve their net worth and, give a lot of people hope that there is a better way and there's a way to improve their financial situation. So,
and I'll just add to that too, in that there's, because of our tax brackets in Canada, it is one of the #1 reasons why we have a lesser quality of living for the money that we do make than a lot of places in the whole entire world. And it's because of that tax issue. Now, the Smith Manoeuvre is going to help us to actually deal with that and take that out. And CRA approved, yes?
Yeah, actually, just a real quick story. I recognize a lot of names, and so you might have heard this story of quite a few of you already, but a long time ago, when Fraser had just come out with the book, he got a surprise visit at his office from 2 CRA agents. They just showed up, entered the office, and asked his assistant to speak with Mr. Fraser Smith, please. So Dad invited him in. Mr. Smith, we want to hear about the Smith Manoeuvre you're talking about. So he put pen to paper, and showed how the money flows and how it worked and all that stuff. And halfway through it, one of the agents leaned forward and said, "Would this work with a $70,000 mortgage?" So yes, it's been on the CRAs. They've known about it for forever now. And in fact, when I was an advisor, I actually put CRA employees into the strategy: cops, lawyers, judges, you name it. That's why.
So, and that's great to hear. And I'll tell you why. Is we have personal experience, with people that we know that have gotten caught up in these tax strategies, as they're called, which, we never agreed with and didn't like, but they've pursued them and it's not turned out well. And so we're really super, careful about that. And this strategy, that's part of the beauty of it, is that it's a completely normal way of doing things. There's rules that say, look, if you fit these parameters, you can make your mortgage payments, or at least part of them, tax deductible, which helps us hugely as Canadians because we're in such a high tax bracket, most of us. And we don't have to worry about there being any issues. So that is, I just want to get that out there right away, that this is a legit issue that has no maybes behind it and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, there's no hair on it. I mean, when I was an advisor, I did have clients who participated in art purchase or donation, different types of tax saving strategies that appeared to be legitimate, and then few years later, CRA comes back and says, right?
Yeah.
But the Smith Maneuver is predicated on an over 100-year-old stipulation that we Canadians, if we borrow to invest with the reasonable expectation of generating income, we can deduct the interest on that income, interest on that borrowing. Sorry, yeah. And that's all we're doing here. And if the CRA, and the government, the CRA could come back and say, you know what, we're not going to allow deductible interest on money borrowed to invest. But the problem with that is now they have to change the rules for not only your typical Canadian homeowner who is simply employing these tactics that the wealthy in business have for years. They have to take that deductibility away from the wealthy in business. So that's not going to fly.
No.
So not to say it couldn't happen. Anything can happen, but this is, it's a principle of 100 years, foundation of business and investing and business development. So it's really
not new.
No, it's not new. It's not new at all. This is how the wealthy get wealthy. They understand debt. Businesses understand debt. And if the common Canadian homeowner can wrap their head around the fact that there are two types of debt, deductible debt and non-deductible debt, this strategy is available to them too.
Yeah, beautiful.
So if you were,
should we just say,
sure.
Guys, it's been having a little bit of technical problems. We've actually had problems with our internet since last night. So we just moved it over to a different network, just so you guys know. So we should be good now. So just for those.
Yeah, let us know if it's still glitching or if you're having any issues connecting. Can you hear us okay, Rob?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
Okay, and we can hear you good. So somewhere there, yeah. So anyway, we'll continue on. Can you just in a nutshell, unless your presentation does this, can you in a nutshell just quickly describe what is the Smith Maneuver?
The Smith Maneuver, it's a mortgage conversion strategy. So when we buy a house, we get a down payment together. We go to the bank when we get a mortgage. And 100% of this mortgage is not tax deductible. It's hugely expensive, not only in the amount that we have to pay every month or 2 weeks or whatever we're paying, but in the fact that this interest is not tax deductible. Our American cousins, they can deduct a good portion of their mortgages. Now, conversely, when they sell their principal residence, they don't get a capital gains exemption like we do in Canada. So they got mortgage deductibility. We got capital gains exemption when we sell our principal residence. But the Smith Maneuver enables us to get best of the both worlds. So we get both interest deductibility and capital gains exemption. So this is what you were talking about earlier, Tiffany, how our standard of living isn't quite up to par with our equivalents maybe in the South. Now we're surpassing them when we implement this strategy. So shall I get going here? Okay.
Yeah, if you'd like, I can add your screen to our stream here, and we should be able to get started on your presentation.
Okay, so how's this looking?
Here we go. We got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations, everybody, for taking an active interest in your personal finances. It's uncommon. I know this group is very, very supportive, and it may feel like everybody's, interested in learning financial strategies and investing in real estate, but it's very uncommon. So congratulations. You guys are all well on your way. Okay, when we're talking about the Smith Maneuver, a big one these days is, how am I going to increase my net worth? How am I going to get better off? Well, what are the issues that we're faced as Canadians? We've got increased pension insecurity, and we're seeing a lot of companies switch their pensions from defined benefit to defined contribution. And that is to the detriment of the employee. That's to the benefit of the corporation, make no mistake about that. We've got job insecurity. That's increasing, especially with what's happening these days. And of course, we've got government spending. Taxes are going to go nowhere but up. And of course, with what's happening in the economy, we got a lot of uncertainty there as well. When's the reckoning? What's going to happen in the future, whether it be taxation, employment, whatever the case may be. So a lot of uncertainty out there. Things are not going for the Canadian homeowner these days. They're not going in the right direction.
Yeah.
What's holding us back in increasing our net worth? We've got inflation. That's going to keep on going. We've got salary and wage increases that are insufficient, and high taxation. I touched on that earlier. We pay more in tax as Canadians than we do on food, clothing, and shelter combined. And you'll know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food, clothing, and shelter are the three most fundamental things that we need for simple survival. And we pay more in tax than all of those combined. And expensive mortgages. If we have a $450,000 mortgage, for those who care to do the math, not many people do because they know it's going to be scary, but we have to earn over $1 million in order to pay back that $450,000 mortgage. It's very expensive. And then we've got the cost of life. We've got kids, braces. We got, we want to travel a bit. We've got gas in the car, all that sort of stuff. Now, typically, we Canadians take a sequential approach to our financial affairs. This simultaneous should say sequential. We've got two major goals in life. We want to pay out our mortgage, but we also want to save for our future, for our retirement. But the decision on which of these two goals we attack first is made for us, not by us. If we don't contribute our cash to our investment portfolio or start saving for retirement, nobody cares. Nobody's going to come after us. But if we don't make our mortgage payment, somebody is going to come after us. They're going to be knocking on our door. So this sequential approach to financial affairs, one and then the other, if we're focusing on our mortgage, as the vast majority of Canadians do, that means we're not focusing on saving for our future. And so if we're taking 20, 25, 30 years to pay out our mortgage and we're not investing, we're missing out on 20, 25, 30 years of compound growth. And that is hugely expensive. So now, by the time we've paid off our mortgage, when we're 60, we're 65, we're 70 years old, great, we're clear title. We're feeling really good about this. Now I don't have to make a mortgage payment each month. I can start investing for my retirement. Oh, geez, I'm already retired. You're not investing for your retirement. You're paying for it, right? So this sequential approach can lead to some bad places where you're being financially reliant on your children. You're living off a small fixed income. You have to sign up for a reverse mortgage. Now, we're happy that reverse mortgages exist because apart from these banks, who else is going to be willing to lend money to an unemployed senior citizen? But we don't want to we want to be in a position where we don't have to take on a reverse mortgage. Mm-hmm. Now, and what else? Maybe we have to work in our retirement, right? So next time you're at a big box store or a fast food restaurant, have a look around. You'll see many, many seniors working there. They're there because they have to be, not because they want to be. So your mortgage, that very thing that allowed you to buy a house where you can raise a family in peace and serenity, is also the very thing that threatens your peace and serenity, again, because it is so expensive. It's a big responsibility once we get a mortgage and buy a house, right? I touched on, how much a mortgage really costs you, but a $400,000 mortgage, 4.5% interest, 25-year AM, if you're at the 38% marginal tax rate, again, you have to earn over $1 million before you're going to be paying that back.
That's huge. That alone, that clarity to say, guys, your $400,000 mortgage over 25 years, okay, we're not paying 4.5% right now, but in general, we are. over a 25-year period, that's costing us $1 million of our hard-earned dollars. So that's massive. If that alone is the only change that we can make.
And that's on a 25-year amortization. I mean, how many are at 30 or 35 or back in the day 40? So yeah, I mean, and that just compounds it even that much more. So it costs a lot more than the 400,000. In other words.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And this is the math that people don't like to do. The bankers love doing it, but not your homeowners, right? Now, what's the typical advice that we get when we want to look at increasing our net worth? What do we hear from financial professionals? Well, invest more, max out your registered contributions, prepay your mortgage, reduce your debt. But what's the common thread here? All of these strategies require more money from you, but we don't have any more money. You know, you folks listening to this today are probably in a better position than the vast majority of Canadians. They have little, if anything, to invest at the end of the month. And all of these strategies I just mentioned require more money from you. So what can we do if there is no more money? Well, we do have the ability to reduce our tax bill. We can increase the efficiency of debt repayment. We can eliminate expensive debt sooner, and we can invest found money. And there's only one strategy which can accomplish all of this with no new money from your pockets. No new money from your pockets.
Huge,
And
right?
Huge. So for everybody listening, just to recap that and slow that down, is the Smith Maneuver really just involves what you have already. You don't have to come up with more money every month to start investing somewhere. This strategy is going to, in some way, find that money for you. Right, Rob?
Just using it better.
That's exactly it. If you've got a $2,500 mortgage payment each and every month that you're making now, once you start implementing the strategy, you're still only coming out of pocket the same amount. It's not going to increase.
Awesome.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a mortgage conversion strategy. And there are three benefits that you're going to see that happen right off the bat. You're going to reduce your tax bill. This is going to enable you to eliminate your mortgage in record time, and you're going to start to enjoy compound growth. This is going to happen now. These benefits happen simultaneously, improve exponentially, and requires, as I said, no new cash from the homeowner. It uses cash that you're already outlaying. It maximizes the mortgage debt that you already have in place, and it simply requires a one-time restructuring of your existing financial affairs, and maybe not even that. Many of you will already be set up for this, you just don't know it yet.
Crazy.
So the Smith Maneuver, we're going to get into it a little bit more, but the Smith Maneuver relies on the fact that you're going to maintain your total debt. Okay, if you've got a $300,000 mortgage, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 mortgage, you're going to maintain your debt. But it relies on the understanding of the two types of debt. And many of you, considering this group, you're going to understand this very clearly already, you're investors. But the vast majority of Canadians need help with this concept. Non-deductible debt is relatively expensive, and it's taken on to acquire depreciating assets. So if I borrow to buy a car, the interest on that is not tax deductible. If it's 6% interest, I'm paying 6%, and that interest goes to the bank and it's gone. I never see anything from that again. Plus, I just bought a car for $30,000, and by the time I get it home, it's worth $25,000, and it just continues to depreciate. Same with borrowing to go on vacation, borrowing to buy your groceries, borrowing to buy steak dinners, everything, patio sets. You're borrowing non-deductible debt to acquire assets which decline in value over time. Tax-deductible debt, however, is relatively inexpensive. Why? Because if I borrow to invest with the reasonable expectation of generating income, I can deduct the interest that I pay for my income, which means if it's 6% that I'm paying on that borrowing, because it's tax deductible, let's say I'm at the 50% tax bracket to make the math easy on myself, that 6% debt really only costs me 3% debt, 3% interest. So it's relatively inexpensive, and it's taken on to acquire appreciating assets. Again, I have to, in order to claim deductions, I have to borrow with the reasonable expectation of generating income. And what produces that? Well, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, investing in my business, somebody else's business, mix, REITs, ETFs, investment real estate. So when I borrow to invest in these assets, which are likely, very likely to appreciate and improve my net worth over time, I can also deduct the interest on that. And the wealthy know this very, very well. They understand the difference between these two types of debt. If you're downtown Vancouver, downtown Calgary, Toronto, wherever you are, take a look, and all the way up at the top of that skyscraper, there's that corporate name in lights, whatever the company is. Well, they got 1 or 2 floors of that whole building, that 60-story building, completely dedicated to making sure the corporation has enough debt. If it doesn't have enough debt, they go and get more. Deductible debt creates wealth. Non-deductible debt destroys wealth. That's one of the main reasons the wealthy are at the top of that wealth pyramid, because they understand that if they borrow to invest, good things happen. That also leaves them their cash to purchase consumer items, right? Depreciating items.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a fundamental belief that if we can all wrap our heads around it, just that alone, the difference between that good debt, bad debt, but then good debt also meaning tax deductible. We understand it from an investment point of view often that it buys assets, but what about the tax portion of it? We don't usually address that as investors. So that alone, that principle is powerful in itself. Never mind what we're getting to, right?
Yep. So now what I was just talking about there, the non-deductible versus tax deductible debt, the exception to these distinctions here is your house. Generally, we can expect it to appreciate in value. It's going to increase in value over time. But the negative is the mortgage debt is non-deductible. Why? Because the CRA says you borrowed to buy a house. You didn't borrow to invest in something which is reasonably going to generate income for you. So it's non-deductible. The Smith Manoeuvre solves this problem. We have to take action, though. You guys are action takers. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to get people to take action here, but your mortgage is one of your biggest investment opportunities. But you have to invest your home equity now, not consume it later. As I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the reverse mortgage, if I am not using the equity in my principal residence, in my home, every time I make a mortgage payment, I have more and more equity in there, but I'm not doing anything with it. It's earning 0%. In fact, less than that because of the effect of inflation. So for 20, 25, 30 years, I'm earning 0% on hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then when I access it via a reverse mortgage, I start selling my house back to the bank, effectively. I'm consuming it. I'm using it to pay for my retirement. I didn't let it grow over time. Very expensive.
Yeah, that's sad.
And there's a lot of people right now sitting on a big chunk of equity in their properties, wherever it is that they're living, that is doing absolutely nothing for them.
Well, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck, or still, that house poor kind of whole thing. They're still struggling every month right now, thinking, oh, that's okay, it'll pay me later, or this will be worth it later. But you're saying that we can implement certain strategies so that we start benefiting from that now as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, chances are everyone listening to this right now knows someone, or if they did a little asking around, they would know someone close to them who lives in a $800,000 house, completely clear title, and they're living off a fixed income, or they're checking out what the reverse mortgage is all about because they've hit 60, 65, 70 years old, and they're looking at retirement with zero savings because they spent all their money paying off their mortgage. The more money you put towards your mortgage when you're not doing the Smith Manoeuvre, the more ability you are creating to sell it back to the bank via reverse mortgage. Mm-hmm. So regardless of where your equity lies, if it lies in your principal residence, if it lies in your investment properties, if it lies in your business, put it to work. Don't be silly about it, but put it to work. Consult someone, right?
Yeah.
Get advice and put it to work. Yeah. So what do we need in order to accomplish what we're going to talk about here, the Smith Manoeuvre? In order to convert the non-deductible mortgage debt that you have to tax-deductible debt, we need a readvanceable mortgage. Now, this is a typical mortgage. I get a down payment together. I borrow $500,000 from the bank. I go get my house. I've got 100% non-tax-deductible mortgage debt of $500,000. And I'm going to pay that over the course of 25, 30 years, whatever it is. Slowly, catchy monkey, over time, keep on sending the money to the bank. Well, a readvanceable mortgage looks like this. I still have the $500,000 of non-deductible debt here, fully non-deductible because I just bought my house, but there's a line of credit not all readvanceables are the same. Some of them are structured differently, but this is just a general overview here. I've also got a line of credit attached to this non-deductible amortizing loan. And the deal is the bank, who holds this readvanceable mortgage, whether it be Manulife, the Manulife one, the Scotia Step, the MCAP Fusion, there's a whole bunch of them out there. But the bank says, you know what, we're willing to lend you $500,000 this month. What is stopping us from willing to have you owe us $500,000 next month after you make a mortgage payment? Nothing. You're still employed. You're still the same person. You still got the house. So we'll let you borrow it back. So this line of credit side, it starts off with a zero limit. As soon as I make a payment on this side, excuse me, the line of credit limit opens up and I can pull that out and do something with it, whatever I want. The bank doesn't care. I can pull that money out. I can make a car payment. I can go on vacation. I can buy a cottage. I can throw the cash in the fireplace. The bank doesn't care. They've got the house as security. They're very well secured. They're very happy. But the fundamental principle is when I make any payment down here, the bank is going to allow me to reborrow it over here. So with this principle in mind, on a monthly basis, how does the Smith Maneuver work? Well, I'm going to make my regular monthly mortgage payment as I am before I do the Smith Maneuver. I've got a typical mortgage. I make that $2,500, $3,000, $3,500 payment each month. I still continue to make that mortgage payment, right? I've still got a mortgage. Now, when that line of credit limit increases on my brand new, shiny, readvanceable mortgage, when it increases dollar for dollar, I pull it out and I invest it. Because I'm borrowing to invest with the reasonable expectation of generating income, I can deduct the interest on that borrowing. I do this every month. Down goes the non-deductible debt, up goes the deductible debt, and I'm getting it invested each and every month. On an annual basis, because I've got all these tax deductions now, the government, the CRA, let's say, every 2 weeks has taken their anticipated tax of what they think I'm going to owe them at tax time. They've taken it directly off my paycheck, tax at source. So because they've done this, when they get my tax return in April, they realize, well, you know, you've got all these tax deductions. We didn't know about that. We have to send you money back. We took too much from you. So they send me a tax refund. This is brand new money that I otherwise would not have seen if I was not implementing the Smith Maneuver. I wouldn't see it if I was paying my mortgage off like the typical Canadian. So when I get this tax refund, I apply it as a prepayment against my mortgage. And then guess what? The amount that I prepay is able to be reborrowed on the line of credit, and I pull that out to invest as well.
Okay, can I stop you just 1 second?
Yep.
So just so you know, sometimes with StreamYard, they don't allow us to see where your cursor is. So I just want to clarify on the previous, well, you can use it on here. So guys, what he was talking about, what he was talking about was the non-deductible mortgage loan is on the left, it's in the blue. And what he said is every time you pay that down, which is your normal mortgage, the white, so the part on the right, the ability to borrow more and more starts rising. So over the course of the loan, you're losing the blue and it's coming into the white. So you owe the same amount of debt, but what you've done is, like he said, it's a mortgage conversion strategy. You've changed that debt from non-deductible to deductible. Okay, so that's what he was pointing to with his mouse, was that. Now, then he went on to say that that's where, now that you have this deductible, tax deductible debt, that's where the CRA now will give you a refund for that, which is new money that you did not have previously.
Correct. Thank you. So this slide here is looking at process. Top left, we've got a mortgage payment of $2,200 here. This is the mortgage payment I'm making whether I'm doing the maneuver or I'm not. I'm still making a $2,200 monthly mortgage payment. Now, a lot of that goes to interest. In this case, based on the numbers, $1,260 goes to interest. That's the price I pay for borrowing the bank's money to buy my house. And it's non-deductible. I don't get any of that back. It's gone.
Right.
But $940 of that $2,200 payment does reduce principal. So that mortgage balance goes from $500 down to $499,060 if my math is correct. Now, because I paid down this debt over here, they open up the line of credit limit by the same amount. If I paid down by $940, they open it up the limit by $940. And I pull this out and I invest it. Again, the use of this reborrowing is critical. If I use it to consume, I cannot deduct the interest. If I borrow to invest, I can. Again, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, investment, real estate, whole bunch of different things. There's a wide variety of things I can invest in and claim the tax deductions. So I do this on a monthly basis. Month 1, 2, 3, 4. Over the course of time, I have fully converted $500,000 of previously non-tax deductible debt to $500,000 of tax deductible debt. 100% tax deductible debt. That means I'm getting very, very large tax refunds. And I mentioned earlier that the benefits that people see with the Smith Manoeuvre increase exponentially over time. That's what's happening with the tax refunds. They get bigger and bigger each and every year. So free money from the government.
So I have one quick question.
Yeah.
The $940 in your previous slide there,
Yep.
that we would end up getting each month. And of course, that number is going to change slightly as we pay less in interest and more in principal. But that, do we then have to take that every single month and invest it? Or can we let that accumulate for 3 months or 6 months and then invest it? Or is it something that every single month should be invested?
Well, you can, like if I continue to make a regular mortgage payment and that 940 is made available, but I do not invest it, that's fine. I can leave it as an available credit on that line. Next month, I have twice as much available credit. I don't have to pull it out and do something with it on a monthly basis. Now, and it doesn't matter because I haven't paid any interest, so there's no tax deduction calculation here. Now, would I want to do that? Probably not. If I've got, let's say, $1,000 to invest on a monthly basis, I'm better off investing $1,000 each month for 12 months than waiting 12 months and investing 12 grand as a lump sum. I lose out on compound growth. Now I'm trying to time the market rather than dollar cost averaging if I'm doing it on a monthly basis. So if you have the ability to invest $940, $1,000, $1,200 a month, do it. Now your group is focused on real estate investment, and it's not like I can pull $1,000 a month and buy a new property, right? Mm-hmm. But what I can do is pull that $1,000 a month and put it into something secure and stable, 4, 6, 8% growth, whatever we're looking at here. Don't go to Vegas on this and throw it on the craps table. But now, because I'm investing $1,000 a month, it accrues to a meaningful amount much sooner than if I'm just waiting for that available balance to accrue to 50 grand, where I'm going to pull it at that point by use a down payment for investment property. So I can get it invested over the course of time, wait till it's 50 grand in my mutual funds, my ETFs, whatever it is, and then sell that investment for cash and then use it to invest in investment property. And we're going to kind of touch on that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So these annual prepayments using the tax refund means I'm out of that non-deductible debt faster. Every dollar I prepay against that mortgage, 100% of that dollar goes to principal because the interest for that month has already been taken care of by the regular mortgage payment. So 100% of principal, my tax refund prepayment goes against principal. And if I'm out of that mortgage faster, I'm paying less in overall interest. Plus, because I'm investing on a monthly basis and an annual basis with the tax refund, I'm taking advantage of compound growth. Taking advantage of compound growth now, which is probably the most valuable thing you can do with investable dollars.
Yeah.
So the Smith Manoeuvre cycle of benefits here. The Smith Manoeuvre converts your 100% non-deductible mortgage to a 100% tax-deductible investment loan. Each month, you're generating valuable and increasing tax deductions. You're able to eliminate your mortgage very quickly, and each month you're investing money that otherwise you wouldn't have available. It happens now, it happens simultaneously, all these benefits, and it needs no new extra cash from you. Now, one of the questions that if I don't get to it first is going to be asked, well, okay, Smith, you say that whether I'm doing the Smith Manoeuvre or not, I still only have to come up with a monthly mortgage payment. But if I'm doing the Smith Manoeuvre, I still have that mortgage payment, but I'm also reborrowing each month, and there's an interest expense on that line of credit. And if it's not coming out of my pocket to service the interest each month, where's it coming from? Well, the answer lies in the increasing efficiency of the regular mortgage payment. Now, let's say I've started off with a $400,000 mortgage, okay? Brand new $400,000 mortgage with my nice readvanceable that I got from the lender. The mortgage payment on that each month is $2,214. You see, it doesn't change. So the very first mortgage payment of $2,214 that I make, quite a bit of it goes to interest. $1,486 goes to interest, which means $728 goes to reduce the principal. Well, as we know, if I've reduced that principal balance by $728, the line of credit limit is going to increase by $728. So I pull that out and I invest every dollar of that. I invest $728. Well, the second month, I still make the same mortgage payment of $2,214, but a little bit less goes to interest. Therefore, if it's a constant payment amount, that means a little bit more has gone to principal. So when I can reborrow that full $730 for month 2, I pull that into my dedicated bank account that I'm using only for the Smith Manoeuvre. And the lender comes into that account because they say, hey, we need you to pay interest on the $728 that you borrowed last month. Well, how much is that? Well, it's $2. Okay, go ahead and take it. What does that leave? That leaves $728. So I still invest $728, but that full borrowing of $730 covered the interest for the month previous. Next month, I can reborrow $733. I still only invest $728, leaving $5 to cover the interest expense on the first 2 months borrowing. Then it's $736. I still only invest $728. That leaves even more money to cover the interest expense on the previous 3 months interest. So no new money is required, even though I'm keeping my debt constant versus paying it down as a typical Canadian would.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. And that was a question that was already asked. So good call.
And while we're on that topic, speaking of questions, just for all of our viewers, there's a lot of questions that are coming through. We want to stick with the presentation tonight, and hopefully we can get Robinson to share us an example in his calculator as well. So what we've done is he's coming on again next week, where we're going to try to tackle all the questions that you asked. So if you have questions, throw them in the comments. And then next week we're going to go through it and do a bit of a Q&A and answer a lot of those questions. So this week is presentation. Next week we're going to try to answer all those questions.
And just so you know too, Robert, I see you said Robert.
Okay.
So I see you said I wish we could talk to a mortgage broker about that. So next week we're going to have 2 mortgage brokers on with Rob as well, so that they can, kind of show you, and they are Smith Manoeuvre certified professionals as well. So they know this through and through, and they can help you through the whole entire process of it. So we're only going to have Rob for so long, but Rob, you're Robert Florian from the island. You're both from the island, darn it. We're also going to have Robinson in our Ignited Laser session next week as well. So you'll also get a chance to talk to him directly. So anyways, we'll have lots of support for you guys over the next little while for this.
Okay, but this is great. Let's keep going.
Yes. Okay. So what's it worth, right? For the typical Canadian homeowner, the plain Jane Smith Manoeuvre, which is what I just described there, simply using your regular mortgage payment, reborrowing the principal reduction to invest, and applying the annual refund as a prepayment and getting that invested as well, is worth around $400,000, give or take, over the original amortization of a non-deductible mortgage. So now I'm going to stop the sharing on this and see if I can get to the calculator.
This is cool. I love the calculator. It's crazy good.
Chrome tab.
Awesome. And so just because you mentioned it, the plain Jane Smith Manoeuvre, that's kind of like the baseline. That's where we start. But then there's a lot of other little things we can do depending on people's situation, where they can accelerate this whole process and accelerate the mortgage pay down and accelerate all of that stuff even more. And so again, that's more detail, but that's what you meant by plain Jane Smith Manoeuvre.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And next week, I'll bring up the accelerators. We'll talk about the accelerators.
Perfect.
And you'll really see the power of the Smith Man calculator and these accelerators and how they can improve your wealth. But just for the sake of time, and also because I don't want to fill up people's heads too much, we'll just cover the plain Jane scenario this week. Next week, we'll go through the accelerators, do a Q&A. Okay, so Fearless, I've created, can you see my calculator?
Yeah, I can see Fearless and View is what I see. Your list of calculators, I think.
Yes.
Or scenarios. There we go. Now we see it.
Okay, good. So So I've created a scenario here for Fearless. Now, I haven't entered anything into this. I'm going to do this in real time. So I open up the calculator. I want to see how the Smith Maneuver is going to benefit my family. So I enter in my details. Let's say I make $150,000 a year. I'm going to keep this really simple. I don't have investment income. I don't have pension income. Next week, we'll talk about rental income. And this is where you guys are going to really love it.
It's amazing.
It is.
Yeah. So based on your inputs, gross annual income, $150,000. My assets, again, I'm not going to fill in any assets. That'll be for next week. Same with the liabilities. But the marginal tax rate, this is based in BC. It automatically calculates based on 150 grand in income, my 43.7 marginal tax rate. You can type in your own actual if you're from a different province and you know your actual marginal tax rate. It'll be close to that though. So this is, again, the plain Jane Smith Maneuver. This is as basic as it gets. I own a house. It's $750,000 is the market value. I have a $500,000 mortgage balance on it. And the mortgage rate is, let's call it 2.9%. Now this defaults to a 25-year amortization. If I have 23 years left on it currently, I can put my number in there. I can put whatever my actual amortization is. I'll just leave it at 25. So this is calculated that my mortgage payment, excuse me, is going to be $2,341 a month. Now, as we know, on a readvanceable mortgage, we've got that line of credit, and that has its own rate. Typically, it's interest only. Currently, the bank prime rate is 2.45. Maybe your Smith Maneuver certified professional mortgage broker gets you a prime plus 0. Maybe it's prime plus half. Maybe it's prime plus 1. Whatever it is, I can enter that in here. So we got a factor of plus 0.5 for a borrowing rate of 2.95%. So here's where things get interesting. Sorry to tempt you guys here with all the accelerators I've listed here, but we're not going to go into them tonight. As far as the investment assumptions here, the portfolio growth rate, I can put in whatever I think, 4%, 8%, 10%. I can play around with that. I'm just going to leave it at 8%. That's the nice thing about this calculator is you can throw in assumptions, you can change your assumptions and see how it affects your results. But based on the mortgage information that I've inputted, I've got $883 to invest. The very first month, that's how much of my $2,341 mortgage payment is going to reduce the principal by. All the rest goes to interest. So yeah, 883, I can invest that. I'm going to do so each and every month. The full 883. So we're starting to see improvements here. Taxation improvements. Over the course of the amortization, I'll have $125,000 in tax deductions, which based on my marginal tax rate is going to mean $55,000 coming back to me in the form of tax refunds. It didn't cost me anything to get this. This is almost $55,000 extra cash in my pockets.
Literally just from what you're already doing, paying, just reorganizing it differently.
That's it. What we're seeing on this page is simply the benefit of converting debt from non-deductible debt to tax-deductible debt and getting invested now rather than later, right?
Yeah, unreal. It's awesome.
Yeah. So amortization improvement, 0 years saved. I haven't clicked to apply my refunds against that yet, but net worth improvement, $446,000. So this is net worth improvement, which means I have an investment portfolio at the end of this amortization period of almost $834,000. My deductible investment loan, the amount of mortgage that I have converted, the conversion has been complete. I've got $387,500 of fully tax deductible debt, which means my net improvement is $446,000. So if I were to redeem out of my $834,000 portfolio, if I were to ignoring taxation, if I were to redeem $388,000, I would be clear title to the house, no non-deductible debt, no tax deductible debt, completely clear title, plus I'd have $446,000 in the bank, well, in my investment portfolio. So that's a net worth improvement right there, 446, 449. Now this, I'm not going to go into detail here, but there is a way that I can improve my results. of the strategy, because I don't have to accept the full amount that the mortgage lender is willing to lend me. There's the 65% HELOC rule, which this calculator takes into account. But basically, because of that 65% HELOC rule, 112,500 is not going to readvance. Only 387,500 will readvance, which is why that is my total deductible debt.
And that's why that didn't go up to 500,000.
Correct. But if I reduce the amount that I'm willing to accept from the lender, we can see that the amount that I cannot access on a monthly basis is going down, 98.5, 97, 96. And the amount that I can readvance and access to reinvest each month is going up. And the more, the better. So if I were to just accept from the lender $550,000, well, now, you know, this was 50,000 and change. Now it's 61,000. My net worth improvement is now up to $504,000. Okay, and this is still assuming that all the tax refunds I've received over the years, this 61,880. The calculator at this point assumes that I've spent that all.
Right.
Like you haven't put it back in.
That hasn't been put into the mortgage yet.
It hasn't been put into the mortgage. So this is all gone to cars, vacations, whatever I wish. However, if I do want to implement the Smith Maneuver to its maximum potential here, I am going to apply those tax refunds. So once I do that, I apply the annual tax refunds as a prepayment. I reborrow to invest. We're going to see 0 years saved and net worth improvement change here. So 2.25 years has taken off the amortization of my mortgage, and my net worth has gone to $617,000. So 500. So simply that act of taking this newfound money, which otherwise I wouldn't receive, and throwing it through my mortgage has improved my net worth by how much? Over $100,000.
Yeah.
My portfolio is 1.06 million, offset by my deductible investment loan, $617,000 net worth improvement.
So that's net worth improvement. That's doing no Smith Maneuver versus doing a Smith Maneuver.
Correct. So if I don't do the Smith Maneuver, I simply have a clear title house after 25 years. If I do, I have a clear title house if I wish, plus $617,000.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
But if I want to maintain my portfolio value, because I like the fact that it's growing, it's spitting out dividends that I can, you know, enjoy and all that sort of fun stuff, then I keep that growing. My debt's not going to change. It's going to max out there, but it's going to keep on increasing if I don't redeem these assets. And why would I? If I'm making, you know, 4, 5, 8% on my investments, and the loan only costs me, you know, 3%, but less than that actually because of the tax deductions, why would I sell the asset to pay off a fully deductible investment loan? The wealthy would not do that. Now, your typical Canadian may. You know, we've gone through this strategy for the past, you know, 23 years, and we've accrued all of this wealth that otherwise we wouldn't see. You know what? It's always sort of bothered me that I've never gotten rid of my debt. And so let's reward ourselves. Let's sleep a little easier now by maybe we redeem $222,000 worth of assets to reduce that loan secured by the house by half. Maybe I redeem all $444,000 required to have a clear title. I'm still much better off. You get to decide what you do with all this money. You know, it's in an open account. It's not a registered account, so it's not like you're living by the government's rules on how much you can pull out, how much you have to pull out. You have to start taking income now. This is a non-registered account. You can do whatever you want with this money. Let it grow, redeem it all, go around the world several times with a bunch of friends, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But the point is now you have options. You're not staring a reverse mortgage in the face once you hit 65 years old. So,
yeah, and this isn't taking into account the fact that house over the last 25 years or whatever has also probably gone up in value.
Absolutely. So on top of this net worth improvement of 617, you've got the value of the house, which is it's the same in both scenarios, but not accounting for the increase in the value of the house here. So that's in addition. Now, again, we're going to really see the power. I mean, this is a pretty good incentive right here, but we're really going to see some power next week when we quickly go through the accelerators here. But I do want to show you the graph. I've replicated the cover of the book here. course, it only cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to a computer programmer to do so, because I sure as hell can't do this. But this is just showing my values. This flat, relatively flat yellow line here is my total debt. So from beginning, year 0 to end, my total debt it's actually gone down, but it certainly hasn't increased. This blue line here is my reduced amortization, considering the strategy, versus the green, which is how fast I'd be out of that non-deductible debt if I didn't do the Smith Manoeuvre. And this purple line is the reborrowing to invest, which creates this red line here. So there it is, year 25 total debt, total deductible investment loan. It's 100% deductible. There's my investment portfolio. And here on the reduced amortization with or without the Smith Manoeuvre is the remaining balances as I scroll through the years here. So you can see.
Cool. So
right?
Cool. All the tools you need to figure this out for your exact situation, right?
So, one thing I just wanted to say, if this was the first time I was hearing this, and I don't know Robinson Smith, I don't know Corey and Tiffany, and I'm just hearing this for the first time, I'm going to say, well, yeah, but now you have to make sure that you get 8% on your investments for the next 25 years. That's probably not going to happen. What about this? What about that? And I'm going to have to start having all of these questions come through my head. But the point is, the big picture point that we really want to get across here is this is just putting into place something that you're already paying. Even if that growth rate is 2%, 3%, you're still ahead of the game. It doesn't matter. So, if you can get your 8, and there's no reason why you can't get 8, 9, 10, 12%.
As investors, we know those avenues where we can do that.
It could even be significantly better. But the point is just doing what you're doing and doing what we've been doing and doing what most of Canadians do, and just paying off their mortgage and not using this tax deductible option why wouldn't we do it? Why wouldn't we?
And let's just throw in 3% here, see what the results is. So 3% growth rate. Now, if I'm making 3% on my investments over 25 years, there's something either terribly wrong with myself, with my investment advisor, or with the world in general. But I'm still $72,000 ahead if I only make 3%.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm taking 2.25 years.
Yeah.
So
I want to say too that as much as this is amazing, and this plain Jane, and I know we're talking accelerators next week, but I just have to say, because we are a group of investors, that lots of times strategies that we do, we're held back because we're investors. They're not as good for us because we have certain things certain ways. But in this case, just by having one property, let's say, in our personal names, an investment property, this accelerator that you can use for that as investors, the one that we can use, you guys, just by having one property, it will take, from what I could see anyways, a mortgage from 25 years down to 16 years, just like that.
This is what you're talking about here, the cash flow dam accelerator. Mm-hmm. And we're going to look at that. It is extremely powerful. And when you combine that with the prime the pump, if you don't have a rental property yet and you're looking for one, you might be able to implement the prime the pump accelerator and get your first piece of property, and then use that to implement the cash flow dam accelerator. Mm-hmm. So next week is a no miss. You're not allowed to.
Craziness.
Everybody, you have to be here next week, because if you've seen something maybe you never knew before, you're hearing about the strategy, you've heard about it, you didn't understand it, and now you're starting to get it. Next week, when we talk about the accelerators, it just jumps it from we've gone from 0 to 20, and we're going to go next week from 20 to 100. So
it's
super cool.
So can we get a heck yeah, guys? This is worthy of a heck yeah.
Put it in the comments. Right? Let us know what you think, guys.
Robinson, we do a weird thing in this group. We're like a heck yeah thing. So come on, guys. Let's see those heck yeahs. Anyone learn something new? Anyone see some power in this? Anyone see some freedom in this? Anyone see some less stress in this? Who sees something in this that everybody should know Love it. Heck yeah. There we are.
They're coming. All right.
I will say, folks, I know that many of you got the book before tonight, and that's great. But the book is available on www.smithman.net. But please go through Corey and Tiffany's link. Now, if you don't want to put up the money for that, go check it out from the library. The important thing is that you learn more about this and do your research. So there's a lot of information on smithman.net. You don't have to buy the book. There's a lot of information already. But just, go visit it, prep for next week, and make sure you get a link if you do want to buy the book, that you go through Corey and Tiffany there.
So the benefit is Rob's given us a 15% off for everyone who uses that link. So that's fantastic. You can see it in the bottom of the ticker going by.
Yeah, go to investorlife.com/Smith, and there you will get access to the coupon code that you can then enter, save 15%. That's available on the book, on the calculator. And so, yeah, super awesome stuff.
So we have, so I was trying to write all the questions that were coming in, and
there's too many.
There's a bazillion. Yeah, there's just no point in even doing that. So Nin's going to grab them out so that we have them. But next week, again, we're going to have some Smith Manoeuvre certified professionals on as well. So all you guys that are asking questions about products, so can we do this with the line of credit? What about the HELOC? And, all of those kinds of questions. That's where your mortgage broker, who is also certified in this maneuver by Rob, they're now going to be able to put that into action for us. So we're going to be having them on next week, a rundown of the accelerators, and hopefully a little bit of a Q&A if we have time for it. I don't know if we will. We might have to do
We're going to have you on for the next 6 weeks, Rob.
There we go, Rob.
Well, that's okay. You know about my $2,000 speaking fee anyway, so.
That's right.
Oh,
yes,
that's all?
yes.
That's all?
Listen,
Okay.
I do want us to finish off with, please, if you're interested in this, do use a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional. It's not like you're paying, for Smith Manoeuvre certified professional mortgage broker, just like any other mortgage broker, they get paid by the lender. So it's not costing you anything, but these people have gone through a training program. They know it. They have access to me. So please, it's very important. We're dealing with investing. We're dealing with mortgage math. We're dealing with the CRA. You want to do it correctly. So mortgage brokers, accountants, investment advisors, we're training them all up. Please, www.smithman.net. We can link you to professionals that way.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you coming on.
So
that was a great presentation. It was awesome seeing how the calculator worked, and I'm sure everybody's excited to start throwing their numbers in the calculator as well. Not only is this valuable for our viewers, for those listening, but you can share this with your friends, with your family. I noticed a comment here by one of our Ignited members, Liz. She says, oh, no, that's not it. Yes, there is a calculator, Liz. There was another comment somewhere here where she asked the question, we could share this with our financial partners, our money partners in the JV process. So yeah, we can share this with really anybody, because it's so powerful, and it's something that everybody needs to know. Yeah. So we appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to having you back on next week, where we can dive a little deeper.
Well, absolutely. I'm happy to come on. Looking forward to next week. Doing another hour, and then the Ignited after that. And really, guys, this is what I love doing. So anytime you let me know, I'll come back on particular topics, whatever the case may be. You know where to find me.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Guys.
Bye, everyone.
Laser right away, and everyone else, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us, and have an awesome week. Don't get stuck on too many of the what ifs and the details, because there's so many questions with this. Don't get stuck in it. Don't try figuring it all out yourself with that emotion that it takes. He'll be back. He'll be answering those questions for you organically, just through the training.
And if you don't have it yet, go to that link, grab the book, read the book. It's really easy. It's actually not that, it's not that big and not that complicated to read. And it explains everything really, really simple. So awesome information. Okay, so that's it. We're done for this week. We'll see our Igniteds over in our Zoom session. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.